Welcome back to GT School. In today's tutorial, I will show you how to create a stunning social media logo intro using Adobe After Effects. This is perfect for YouTube, Insta or any other platform where you want to make a great first impression. We will cover everything step by step, from designing the animation to adding smooth effects. No plugin needed, just After Effects and a bit of creativity. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome motion graphics tutorial. Now let's jump into After Effects and get started. So as always, let's start our project by creating a new composition, and let's rename this to main. I'm gonna keep this composition with 4K resolution and 10 seconds of duration and 29 frame rates per second, and hit OK. Now let's create another composition, rename this logo. Open the footage folder and drag and drop the Insta logo into our composition. Press S on the keyboard to open scale properties, and let's change this to something like 300, and let's move this a bit up. Now select the text tool and let's write here at GT School. You can write your username right over here. The font is not necessary, you can use any font that you like, and yeah, I think this is okay, and close the logo composition. Now create another composition, rename this reflection, and open footage folder once again and drag and drop the reflection footage into our composition timeline. Press S on the keyboard to open scale properties once again, and let's change this to something like 260. With that to fill out the screen, and with reflection footage selected, let's add here motion type, and let's turn on the mirror edges effect, and let's create a keyframe on first on the frame 0, and let's change this to something like minus 1725, and go to frame 10, just 10 seconds forward, and let's change the title center to something like 2200, and now you can see the animation we have made. Now let's close this reflection composition, create another composition, rename this logo reflection. Drag and drop the logo composition right over here, and let's add here Vegas effect. Now you can see once we add Vegas to our composition, logo composition, you can see that noise around it. And how can you fix this? Just open image contours and go for channel, and from intensity let's change this to alpha, and for segment I just want one segments around this logo, and let's change the blend mode, and I just want to reveal these strokes, not the logo. For width, let's just change the width to something like 12.6, and let's change the hardness to something like 0.59, and let's change the start opacity to something like 0, and let's change the midpoint opacity to something like 1, and for position, midpoint position, let's change this to 0.228, 0.228, and now you can see our logo. And let's create a keyframe on length, and let's change this to 0 at frame 0, and go to something like 1 in 60, frame 1 in 60, and change the length to 1. And now you can see I just have kind of this animation, like so simple. I just wanted to rotate it, like it rotates around. So to do this, let's uh, press Alt on the keyboard and hold right click on, just click on that stopwatch icon on the rotation, and let's write here an expression like time 200. Now you can see that I have this really beautiful rotation around my logo. Press U on the keyboard to just reveal and just see this keyframes. Press F9 on the keyboard to easy ease them, or you can just simply click on them and then go to keyframe assistant and easy ease them. Now let's add here bevel alpha effect, and let's change a few settings like edge thickness to something like 6. Now you can see that the edge has kind of thickness, and let's go for light intensity to something like 1. I want it kind of more brighter. And again, just drag and drop this logo into our composition logo reflection, and press T on the keyboard to open the opacity. Go to frame 1 and 4. Click on that stopwatch icon to create keyframe and just make the opacity 0, and then go like 1 second forward to 2 and 4, and let's change the opacity to something like 100. Again, select the keyframes, hit F9 on the keyboard, or just simply left click on them, keyframe assistant, and easy ease them. I think that's okay for the animation. Now let's add here our reflection and drag and drop it into our logo reflection composition timeline, and let's add here a few effects. First of all, let's add here turbulent displacement, and now let's change a few settings. I want to change the amount to something like 130, and now let's change the size to something like 1000, and I'm okay with turbulence displacement. Let's add here CC glass and add here to our reflection composition, and let's change a few settings. Let's change first of all the property from lightness to alpha, and the bump map to logo 2, and let's change the softness to something like 4.7. Much better. And let's change the height to something like 100. Let's add here sitmat, and let's change the text mat from layer to logo 2. Now you can see this. That's okay. Let's change its mode to add, and for opacity press T on the keyboard to create a few keyframes. Just go to frame 15, down the quality, and let's just click on that stopwatch icon to create keyframe, and let's change this to 31 opacity, and go to the beginning and let's change this to 0. Select both the keyframe, hit F9 on the keyboard to ease them. Control S and save the project once. Remember to save the project while you are working, it's so important. And just duplicate this reflection composition by pressing Ctrl D on the keyboard, and this time let's change the mode from add to hard light, You can just simply find the mode from toggle switching the models, or if you can see this mode by toggle switching the models, just left click on this area right over here, go to columns and just enable modes by just like this. Just go and enable the modes, and for this one press W or just press U on the keyboard, and let's change this to something like 11. Let's play the animation. I think that's perfect for now, and let's just go into our main composition. Double click on the main composition to open it, and first of all open the footage folder and drag and drop the background. Press S on the keyboard and let's change its scale to something like 105. Now create another new solid, change its color to something like white, and now let's just bring down this logo reflection into our project and select this white solid, go to shape layer, select ellipse, and now press Ctrl Shift Alt on the keyboard to create a circle around it, or you can just press Ctrl Alt on the keyboard to create any kind of circle that you want. So I don't need a proper circle, I just need something like this. And now just open mask properties and open mask feather. You can just press F on the keyboard to open mask feather and change this to something like 700. Now just change this to full quality to see. That's good. Now select the logo reflection composition, add here drop shadow effect. And let's just change the opacity to something like 35, and the direction is okay, and let's go with distance something like 120, and the softness something like 300. I think that's good for now. And toggle switch the models and enable the 3D option for the logo and the background. Now create another solid, make it black, and go to ellipse and double click on it to create a mask around this area, and just invert it. Once you invert it, click on this arrow to open the mask properties, and now let's change the feather to something like 890, and for mask opacity let's change the mask opacity to something like 30, and for mask explanation let's change this to something like 290. Now you can see the darkness just on the corners. And now let's create a new camera. 50 mm I'm using for this project, and let's create a new null object and make it 3D, and just parent the logo with this null object. Create one more null object and also make it 3D, and parent this null one to this null 2. Select the camera one and Ctrl S to save the project. Select the camera, go to around 7 seconds and press P and also A on the keyboard to open the position and point of interest properties. And here let's change this to something like 5900, minus 5900, and the point of interest something like minus 5575, and go something like frame 2 and 12, and let's change this to something like 0, and this one something like minus 5330. Just close the camera for now, select null 1, go to 3 seconds, press P on the keyboard to create position, and let's change this position to something like 1440, and just unlink this with null 2, because we are going to change our logo to null 2, and we are going to parent this to null 2 for logo. Select this keyframe and go to frame 0, select the null 1, and let's change this to something like 6820. Now you can see how it comes, kind of so close. And let's just change the rotation to something like the Z rotation, something like 45, create a keyframe, and then go to something like 2 and 3, frame 2 and 3, 2 seconds and 3 frames, and change this to 0. And now press U on the keyboard, select the keyframes, hit F9 on the keyboard, select these 2 keyframes and just drag and drop this something like that. Go to null 2, press P on the keyboard to open position, and go to something like 2 and 21, 2 seconds and 21 frames, and change the position to something like 280, and create a keyframe. Go to ready beginning, and let's change this to something like 0. And to solve that problem, that dark background behind this white mask, let's create another new solid. Go to color and just change the brightness to something like 97 and hit OK. Just bring this down all the way here. Now you can see something like this. Just go for keyframes, select them again, and I think they're kind of too much. Adjust it something like this. And now let's create a new adjustment layer. Control Shift Y, and let's rename this to something like DDF, and let's add here camera lens blur, let's just change a few settings here. Let's change direction, bring something like 500, and let's change blur map. Just add here something, and then invert this and invert the blur map, and then again select this to none, and just edge behavior repeat pixel, just turn off this one. Go to frame 20 seconds, go to 20 seconds and something like 21 seconds, and create a keyframe on blur radius, and let's change this to something like 30. Press U on the keyboard to preview the keyframes. Go to frame 1 and 1 and change this to something like 0. Go to something like 5 seconds and also click here a 0, something like this. And let's add here Gaussian blur. And let's change the blurriness to something like 2 and repeat edge pixel up. Let's add here unsharp mask and let's change the unsharp amount to something like 150. Sorry, I think that's okay for now. Let's go to project, open footage folder and just drag and drop the golden particles into our project. And let's add here an effect known as tint. Change the color to something like this, and press S on the keyboard and change the scale to something like 200. And now toggle switch models once again, and let's change this to add. Now you will be able to see kind of, now you can see this changes right over here. Press space N on the keyboard and we want our logo animation to be just 8 seconds. And now just go to project once again, open footage and let's add here side player. Just move it kind of away, press S on the keyboard, change this to 200 and let's change the mode to add. Now first of all, let's create a few keyframe on opacity. Go to something like 126, create a keyframe on opacity and let's change the opacity to something like 5. Go to frame 25 and let's change the opacity to something like 8 and go to frame 30 and let's change the opacity to something like 5. And let's just add here hue and saturation effect, and let's change the saturation, master saturation, something like 70%, and the master lightness something like -49. Now you can see before and after here in saturation. We are done with our animation and our project is ready. In case if you don't like these Vegas strokes, you can just go to logo reflection and turn off the Vegas. Now you will have a simple animation of the logo reveal, but if you want the Vegas you can just turn it on. Now let's see the final review of our project and we are done. And let's see the final preview. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial, and make sure to like, subscribe and leave a comment, and see you in the next video.